May the Noble Triple Gem bless you all. So we meet once again after the last session that we had together. So how have you all been? I sincerely hope that your lives have begun to change. So before further ado, we will begin now today's discussion by chanting the Namaskara 3 times in order to pay our homage to the Perfect One, the Lord Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So in our previous discussions, in our previous talks, we discussed many things. We started our discussion understanding the concept of what you give is what you get. Then we proceeded on how to understand what pleasure is in this world. And we did a few experiments in the lab of life, if you can remember, and we tried to prove, and we tried to find the location of this pleasure. And so on, we went on with our discussions little by little in order to reveal the truth of this world. So today, we would like to turn another chapter in our revelation of this truth. So dear children, what do you think that we are going to discuss today? It's a very common topic and it's very important for us all. It matters not whether you are a child or not. If you want to be happy, if you really want to be happy, this is something that you must understand in your life. Have you heard about contentment? Are you contented? What do you need to be contented? Actually, it's kind of a rare trait these days, unfortunately. But to be honest, it's very simple. The theory behind contentment is really simple, if you look at it in that way. So today we are going to talk about contentment and how to be contented. You see, dear children, sometimes we forget to appreciate the things that we have, the facilities that we have, the people around us, and we fail to appreciate the fact that they are around us and we have them. Because of this, it's very commonly mistaken that they are being given for eternity. We easily tend to think that they are for granted, and we easily take them for granted. Dear children, if you look at it in an analytical way, you'll find something very interesting in the things that you have for free. Especially children, these things happen very commonly to the things that are around us, that are given for free, that are given free of charge. For example, the oxygen that you breathe in, how much does it cost? What do you think? Yes, it doesn't cost anything. It is given to you free by the Mother Nature. What do you think about the love that you get from your parents? Do they charge? If they were to charge, you will be bankrupt in no time. Dear children, there are many things. If you were to count them, you will lose the count very easily. There are innumerable things that you have got for free. Those could be from Mother Nature, or from your parents, or the people around you. They don't have to treat you like that. Who asked you to treat you like that? But they still do love you. They still do care about you. Who asked them to do? For example, a stranger that you meet on the road. Let's say that you fell on the road accidentally, and someone by the side of the road helped you. They helped you to get up, and they helped you to put your things together that you have fallen. Who asked him to help you? No one asked him. Dear children, learn this technique. The technique of appreciating the others. It might sound very simple. The simpler it is, it's very easy not to do it. Why? Because it's so simple. You might think to yourself that, oh, that is something very old. We have done that. What's the point of doing that? You might not notice, dear children. This is the most important thing to do in order to be happy. Try to develop a grateful mind, a mind that can be grateful even at the very difficult time, even at the most difficult time. If you're someone who has practiced this trait, you can't be bothered by anyone. You will be happy unconditionally. At least you will go there little by little. Therefore, dear children, how should we appreciate? When we say this and when we try to do this, when we try to practice this in our day-to-day life, initially it will be very difficult if this is not practiced thoroughly. Mind you, dear children, this cannot be done artificially. If you try to appreciate someone for the sake of doing it, the other party will understand definitely. And they will see and they will feel the fact that you are trying to do it artificially and you don't mean it. And if that happens, that's very, very kind of dangerous as well for the relationship that you have towards the other party. You should never do that. You should always speak from the bottom of your heart. You should always speak wholeheartedly. Then only you can mean something in order that thing to be felt by the others. For example, children, people fail to appreciate the fact that they are being given free oxygen by the Mother Nature. Therefore, they can't enjoy the nature. Someone at this day and age might think that we don't have any time to enjoy the nature. We are so busy. So much so that they are all occupied with their own business or their own work. If they are school children, they might be busy with their exams and studies. But dear children, stop for a little while and think back. Are you happy? What's the point of doing all these things? You all do this to be happy, don't you? So if you are not happy right now, so what's the point? We have lost the point somewhere in the middle. I don't mean to say that this is totally wrong. It's totally wrong to do an exam or to be busy with your own work. No, I don't mean to say that. What I mean is, you have to be happy at this moment, right now. If you have lost it, there's no point of talking about any further. Therefore, children, we have to learn this. We have to practice this. It will be difficult. It's okay. It will be like this for anything. Can you remember the day that you started cycling? It was difficult, right? Of course it was. But is it difficult now? I don't think so. So what made it difficult? Cycling per se is difficult? Do you believe that? No. Then you should find it difficult right now as well. But it's not difficult for you because of the practice. Therefore, dear children, anything will be difficult if you don't practice. If you don't have enough practice, it will be difficult. Same applies to all the things that we learn in our life. Therefore, dear children, what makes us experts in things that we do is just practice. Therefore, dear children, practice to appreciate and acknowledge what you have today. Then you can be contented. That's a kind of a secret, although it's very famous. It's a secret of being contented. Appreciate what you have now. Acknowledge what you have now, what you are being gifted. Then you develop a grateful mind. A grateful mind can never be unhappy. A grateful mind is always a happy mind. Especially, dear children, you can practice this while you are not okay, while you are not happy. The reason behind it is, you might have missed some things, bits and pieces here and there, that you can be grateful for. You might have missed some things that you can acknowledge, but you didn't do so because it was so easy, maybe. So if we look at this very carefully, we will definitely find some really simple things, but if we do so, the outcome will be quite different. Therefore, dear children, why do I say this? This is not just to be happy, dear children. A pleasant mind is always required to practice the Buddhist philosophy. To practice this Dhamma, it will only be done through a pleasant mind. If your current mind is not pleasant, unfortunately, Dhamma will not work. Dhamma will work only in a present mind. So how can the mind be pleasant? How can we make a pleasant environment in this mind? It can only be done through this, through being grateful, through being contented, through appreciation of what you have, and not focusing on what you don't have. You see, dear children, if you focus on what you don't have, the environment of the mind will completely change. Either you have experienced this plenty of times. Just look at your life. Just look back through the lab of life. What can you see? The instances that you have become sad, where you were not okay, where you were frustrated or stressed. What can you see? What can you say about those instances? You could not appreciate something and the environment of the mind was not pleasant. That is a must. With an unpleasant mind, with an unpleasant environment of the mind, everything that we do or say will lead to further unpleasantness. Therefore, dear children, it is very important to break this cycle, because it's always a part of self-fulfilling prophecy. What you think about yourself, what you think of others, it will lead to culmination of the same thing. It will aggravate the very thing that you suspect on. If you don't trust someone, when you see them, if you haven't already cleared that doubt, what would come to your mind? You will definitely see in a doubtful way in that person. You will see them with a tinge of a doubt because you haven't cleared that. Dear children, this will become a habit, and your mind will be defiled. It will be defiled of all the unwanted feelings. Now you won't be able to talk with them as nicely as before, as you used to be. Therefore, dear children, it's always a good practice to check it out when you are in doubt. It's always a good saying, right? You might have heard this. When in doubt, check it out. That's a very good practice in order to lead a very free life. Otherwise, you will be burdened of all those doubts. Isn't it a burden, dear children? Of course that is. That's a cumbersome and unwanted burden that you will have to carry. Just let it go. How can you let it go? Just ask it out. You can confirm whether that is true or not. Let's say, for example, one of your friends in your class, when you greeted them, good morning, they didn't just care that. Then you might think that he is not that good with me. I think it's because of that reason. It must be like that. It has got to be that reason. I thought it was. So the things happen in a cascade. Dear children, if you let this happen in your mind, the next time that you see him or her, these will reverberate all throughout your mind. And you can't help but to feel that there is something wrong with him. We fail to understand that something is wrong with our minds. Therefore, dear children, this is a burden. This is an unwanted, unnecessary, cumbersome burden that we'll have to carry with us if we don't clear those doubts. Therefore, dear children, if you want to lead a very happy life, very contented life, and to maintain the pleasant mindset, these are some of the tips that you can practice in your day-to-day life. Just be open to all your friends, especially to your family, especially to your mother and father. If you come across something, just be the best friend of your mother and father. They are the first teachers in your life. They are the ones who taught you to say mom and dad. They are the ones who taught you. They are the ones who answered to all the questions that you ask. Have you seen little children? Those who ask repeated questions, one after the other? Have you seen their parents? Have you ever seen that parents say, I can't answer that question, just stop asking questions? No. They keep on answering to all the little questions that they ask. Don't you think that they have work? Don't you think that that's a distraction to their work? They might be busy with their work, maybe in the profession that they do. Although that's a distraction for their work, they keep on answering. Why do they do that? Who has asked them to do that? Is it part of their work? No. Because they care for you. Have you given a thought to appreciate the sacrifice of your parents for you? What much of a workload that they do for the sake of you, in order to safeguard you, in order to nourish you, not only with food, but also with good virtues. They are your first teachers. Therefore, do not have anything, any little thing hidden from your parents. They are your first teachers. And remember, dear children, Lord Buddha has repeatedly said that it's a very meritorious deed to help them out. Help as much as you can to your parents. It may be simple things. Some children, as we got to hear, the children from our Siwmaga, the Dhamma school that we have in our monastery, as well as we have an online Dhamma school in several countries as well. So we get to hear these things from our children. We get to hear these things through the parents, that they give them a glass of water just before they went to sleep. This is just a simple thing. Just in case they have a cough or they were thirsty in the middle of the night, they will use this. And that is a glass of water which was offered to me by my son, by my daughter, my ever so beloved daughter or son. So, although that was a simple thing to do, just look at the thing that they have developed. They have developed to appreciate the sacrifice of their parents. Remember this, dear children. A grateful mind can never be unhappy. If you appreciate the fact, the sacrifice that others do for the sake of you, you will be happy. Therefore, dear children, we should always try to appreciate what we are given through the environment or through the people that we associate. Therefore, the mind will be a very pleasant mind. Such a mind is the only possible mind to practice this Buddhist philosophy. Such a mind will pave the way towards the supreme bliss of Nibbana. That is why all these things are shared with you. It's not just to be happy. It's not just to enjoy your life. It's not just to let go of all the burdens that you might be carrying with you. No, it's not just for that. It is to help you to pave the way towards the supreme bliss of Nibbana. That is my ultimate goal. And I will do the same for you. I will pave you the path towards Nibbana, because I can't do something that I don't know. Therefore, I should do it in the first place. Therefore, while practicing the path, and I will teach you and I will show you the way that I have come so far. Therefore, dear children, with an unpleasant mind, it is almost impossible to do this. You must maintain a pleasant mind, and how to do so is to practice appreciating the others, appreciating what you have, appreciating the good qualities wholeheartedly. That is something that we have to practice. We might not have had that quality or that virtue from our birth. That's okay, that's perfectly fine. This is not something regarding the talent, your inborn talents. We can practice anything in this world. Therefore, this Nibbana, this Sasana is for all of us. Lord Buddha, the advent of the Lord Buddha was not just for the Buddhist, it's for all human beings in this world and beyond. Therefore, children, let's try our best. Because if you are someone, if you are a human which is born to this human world, that is just enough to prove that you are so fortunate. Because do you know, dear children, how many are behind you? Innumerable amounts of beings are behind us. They are still awaiting for the chance to hear this Dhamma, dear children. That's what important this Dhamma is. For that to be understood, these are the background things, this is the environment that should be laid for the Dhamma seed to sprout. Okay, dear children, I think we have had enough for the next month to practice. I sincerely hope that you will get the maximum benefit of these concepts and the teachings that you hear through these talks. So, by practicing them, I hope you will also develop this environment which is needed to practice the path in order to pave the way towards the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So with that in mind, let us conclude today's discussion. So may through the power of the merits that we have acquired by engaging in various meritorious deeds, listening to Dhamma, may we transfer all these merits to all sentient beings. If they have been born in the woeful planes, may they be redeemed of these woeful planes and be born in the blissful planes. May through the power of these merits, may they abstain from unmeritorious deeds, may they fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the Noble Eightfold Path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Let's recite Namaskara. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Teravan Saranai, everyone. Today we're going to talk about a fascinating story about the great elder, Venerable Bhadda Kapilani Thevi. She was the former wife of Venerable Kashyapa Thero. They came in this samsara together. They lived for more than 100,000 yons together. In the time of the Lord Buddha Padumuttara, she was born to a wealthy elite family. When she came of the age, she got married to the prince Videha. This prince was from a Buddhist background. He listened to sermons in his household, but Bhadda was new to this. He wanted to make her interested in Dhamma, so he did everything he could, but she wasn't keen on that. One day, they both went to the monastery where Lord Buddha was residing and listened to a sermon. At the end of the discourse, the Lord Buddha bestowed the title of the foremost among monks who practice austerity. The prince was elated. He looked at Buddha with a big smile on his face. Then they both went to the Lord Buddha and invited the Lord Buddha and the Mahasangha for alms for 7 days. At that moment, he asked how many monks are there in the monastery, and he wanted all of them to come to the alms. Then the Lord Buddha, 70,000 monks. He was willing to accommodate all 70,000 monks at his place. Just imagine, he must be very rich, isn't it? He must be very rich to accommodate 70,000 monks for 7 days at a stretch. They prepared alms and offered it to the Lord Buddha and the Mahasangha. And on the 7th day, he went to the Lord Buddha and asked, Venerable Sir, will I become like that monk who was the foremost among monks who practiced austerity? Then the Lord Buddha, with his divine eye, looked into the future and saw that he would become like this monk one day. He was so happy, he was over the moon, he was very joyful. He engaged in many meritorious deeds. It was a very important and a turning point of Buddha as well. One day, again they went to the monastery, and that time the Lord Buddha bestowed the title of foremost among nuns who recalled past lives to one of the nuns. And then Buddha made a wish. I want to become like that nun one day. So, what did she do? She went to the Lord Buddha all by herself and invited the Lord Buddha and the Mahasangha for alms, just like the way Prince Videha did. On the 7th day, she also went to the Lord Buddha and made a wish, asked whether she would become like that one day, like that nun one day. Then the Lord Buddha, with his divine power, looked into the future and saw, in the time of the Lord Buddha Gautama, she would become like this nun. Do you see, they both were prophesied. So they engaged in many meritorious activities to achieve that prophecy. When they passed away, they both were born in the Tusita heavens. Again, in the time of the Lord Buddha Vipassi, they both were born in the human plane. This time they were called Ekasartika Brahmin and Brahminas. They lived a happy life. They were from a high caste, but they weren't rich. One day, Ekasartika Brahmin heard that Lord Buddha Vipassi was born to this world. So he came running home and told his wife, the Lord Buddha has come to this world. We should go and listen to his sermons. They were very happy about it. But there was a problem. They couldn't go together because they only had one show. That's why they were called Ekasartika Brahmin and Brahminas. They shared the one show. So if they go to listen to the sermons, they can't go together. So they had to go separately. This Brahminas was very generous and very kind, very thoughtful and selfless. So she wanted to give the first chance to her husband. But then, considering the concerns they had. She couldn't go to the preaching that was held at night because it's dangerous to walk alone as a woman. So he asked her husband whether it's okay for her to go to the afternoon sermon, and when she come back, for him to go to the evening sermon, the sermon that was conducted at night. They both agreed on that. So she was very thankful to her husband, and she went to the monastery to listen to the sermon. Then she came back. She had a very generous heart. She was very grateful about her husband. So he gave back the shawl and said, "Thank you very much for this great opportunity that you gave me." And then the Brahmin went to the monastery afterwards. When he started to listen to the sermon, it was amazing. There's a long story behind that, so to make it short, at the end of the discourse, he wanted to offer this shawl, the only one shawl, to the Lord Buddha, because they didn't have money, wealth, food or whatever to offer. That was the only thing they had to offer. So he offered it to Lord Buddha. The one shawl they both shared, and he came home. Then he told his wife what he did. What do you think she must have told? "Oh no, how dare you do that? It's the only shawl we had." Do you think she would say something like that? Instead, she applauded, said, "Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu." She rejoiced in the merit her husband engaged. For their surprise, they received 2 shawls from the king, because king has seen this sight. And then they didn't keep it. They gave the 2 shawls to the Lord Buddha. They offered it to Lord Buddha. Then they received 4 shawls. They offered 4 shawls to the Lord Buddha. Then they received 8, 10, 12, 20, up to 32 shawls they received. Then they realized it's going to be a bit of a hassle to this king to keep on offering them shawls. So they decided to keep 2 shawls for themselves and offer the rest of the 30 to the Lord Buddha. And one day, this Ekachatak Brahmin was outside the monastery in the cold breeze. The king saw that. The next day, the king offered a golden coat to this Ekachatak Brahmin. Just imagine a golden coat, a royal coat made out of golden thread. It must be very expensive. Since they didn't have much wealth, they could have sold it and get whatever they wanted, but they didn't do it. Instead, they offered it to the Lord Buddha. Next day, the king went to see Lord Buddha where he was residing, to his kuti. To his surprise, he saw that the coat he offered to the Ekachatak Brahmin was hanging in the ceiling. The king couldn't believe his eyes. He realized how generous and virtuous these people are. So he made Ekachatak Brahmin and Brahminas his chief advisors and gave all the luxury they deserve. The time passed by. Between the Lord Buddha Konagamana and the Lord Buddha Kashyapa, Buddha was born again as a human girl. This time also, her husband was to become Venerable Mahakashapatero. So they lived together a happy life as husband and wife. But they had a problem. She had a sister-in-law. They got engaged in many arguments. They had a lot of disagreements. So they used to fight a lot. One day they started a fight. It became bigger and bigger and bigger. So the prince has to get engaged in that. Her husband tried to stop that fight, but it got even worse. Then they were fighting. They were screaming and shouting and fighting at each other. Then the sister-in-law, from her corner of her eyes, saw a monk was coming towards their house, begging for food. So she immediately stopped the fight and went to this monk and asked for the bowl and served. And then when she was offering the bowl to the Pacheka Buddha, it was a Pacheka Buddha who came for alms. So she wished that she won't be born ever again in front of this woman that was Buddha. To hear that, Buddha was furious. She couldn't control her anger. She was so angry. Can you imagine what she did then? She ran to the Pacheka Buddha, grabbed his alms bowl, threw away the food, and put mud and rotten vegetables and fruits to the alms bowl and gave it back. Then the Pacheka Buddha took it and walked away. At that moment, the sister-in-law came and started and told her, "How dare you do that? You had the problem with me. This innocent monk has nothing to do with it. If you're angry, hit me. Do whatever you want. Scold me. Do whatever you want. But please don't do anything for this innocent monk." After a while, she realized what she has done. So she ran after the Pacheka Buddha, went to him, apologized for the mistake, and asked for the bowl back, and threw away all the mud and dirt and the rotten food, and washed it with scented water. All the expensive scents, fragrance she had to wash away the smell, the putrid smell. Then she made Jethavanarama and ghee oil and offered it to the Lord Buddha with this alms bowl. And she asked for forgiveness. And then she wished, out of many wishes, she wished for a beautiful body in her future lives. These children, can you see what anger could do to you? She was a very meritorious person, but one mistake brought consequences. In the time of the Lord Buddha Kashyapa, she was again born to a wealthy elite family. And when she came of the age, her parents arranged a marriage. And she got married to Prince again, who would become the future Venerable Mahakashapatero. You see, they came in this samsara together all the time. But this time when she got married, she went to his house As soon as she entered the house, her breath started to smell rotten flesh, a putrid smell of rotten flesh. He couldn't find out where it came from, so he asked his servants to look for it. Then, after a while, the servants got to know that the smell is coming from Buddha's breath. They told it to the prince. And then what did she? He tried to tolerate it for 2 days. That was all he could tolerate. Then he had no choice but to divorce her. She went back to her house. Then she got married again to another man. The same story happened. She got married again and again. For 7 times she got married, and all those times she was divorced within 2 days because of this bad smell of her breath. Then she was devastated and she was tired of getting married. So what did she do? She gathered all her jewelry, all the golden jewelry, and went to a goldsmith and asked him to melt everything, all the jewelry, and make a golden brick. So she got a golden brick instead of jewelry. And on the way to her house, she saw a group of people making a pagoda of the Lord Buddha Kashyapa, a pagoda to keep the relics of the Lord Buddha Kashyapa. She went there and she was very happy to see that, and she got to know one brick was missing to build that. She was elated because she had something that could replace that brick. She had a golden brick, so very happy. She was very happy to offer it. So they taught her how to fix the brick to the pagoda. She went there and fixed it and offered that golden brick to that pagoda. She didn't stop there. She got 8 blue lilies and offered it to the pagoda and wished for 2 things. One, she wanted her body to smell sandalwood and blue lilies. And the other wish was to have the happiness, the eternal bliss the Lord Buddha Kashyapa had. Within a very short period of time, her first husband started getting feelings for her. He felt that he can't live without Buddha, so he came looking for her. Then he asked, "Would you marry me again?" Then Buddha refused because she didn't have any jewelry, because she melted it and offered it to a pagoda. But then he said, "It's fine. I will give whatever you want. I will give all the jewelry and gold you need. Please be my wife." So they got married. And when they entered his house, she started to smell sandalwood and blue lilies. Her husband was surprised. Then she told the story. And then do you know what he did? He applauded, "Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu." Okay. Then, in the time of the Lord Buddha Gautama, she was born in the city of Madda. She was born to a Brahmin family. At the same time, 4 years before Buddha was born, Prince Pipali was born in the city of Magadha to a Brahmin family called Kapilana. One day, Prince Pipali's parents went to Prince Pipali and asked, now you're 20, you're in the age to have a marriage. So why don't you get married? We want you to be married. But Prince Pipali didn't want to get married because he was from a Brahma realm. So he didn't have any feelings for that. But his parents insisted, kept on nagging him. He was really annoyed to get married. So what did he do? He went to a goldsmith with thousands of coins and asked him to mold a beautiful princess out of gold. And then, with that statue, he asked his parents, if you want me to get married, I want to marry a princess who looks like, a woman who looks like this statue. He thought they won't be able to find one like that. So his parents took the challenge and mount this statue on a chariot and selected 8 Brahmins and asked them to have whatever they want, wealth, money, whatever, and sent them away to find a woman like that. So one of the Brahmins decided, okay, let's go to Madda, the city Madda. So they went there and they roamed around, but they couldn't find any girl like that. So they were tired, they were exhausted. So they parked the chariot under a tree near a pond, and went to have a bath. In the meantime, Bhadra was 16 and very mischievous. She lived in the city Madda. So, after having a bath with all the jewelry and dressed up nicely, her nanny or the nurse asked her to stay at home because this nanny was going to have a bath quickly and come back. So this nanny went to the same pond that Brahmins went to. On the way back, she saw Bhadra was standing under a tree. Then she was furious. How dare you, Bhadra? You were supposed to stay at home. Why are you walking like that? I asked you to stay at home. And then started to give a slap. Then a big noise came and hurt her hand. Then only she realized it wasn't Bhadra, it was just a statue. For that noise, the Brahmins came and asked, do you know this sort of a woman? Do you know someone looks similar? Of course, I know someone who's prettier than this, said the nanny. Then they asked for more details and asked her to take them to find her master. So they talked and discussed about the legacy and all of that, and they arranged a marriage to Prince Pipali. They selected Princess Bhadra to marry Prince Pipali. Then, at that moment, Prince Pipali was not ready to get married, and even Bhadra wasn't ready. Bhadra didn't want to get married, just like Prince Pipali. They both had the same intention. They wanted to renunciate after their parents passed away. So they both wrote a secret letter and tried to share it among themselves. But unfortunately, the 2 letters met. The messengers opened the letters and read and wrote a completely opposite answer for this. They said, it's okay, I will marry you anyways. That was the summary of the reply. Then they didn't have choice. They had to get married. When they got married, on the wedding night, they put 2 garlands in the middle of the bed And they said, whoever gets a lustful thought will find the garland fade away. So they lived for some time without the garlands fading away. Because they were both from Brahma world. They didn't receive any lustful thought. When Prince Pipali's parents passed away, he had to take care of all the business his parents had. 870 million of wealth, 60 reservoirs, 14 villages. He had to take care of all of that. One day, he got dressed up, mounted on a horse, and went to the fields to see whether it has been plowed. When he was there, he noticed crows came to eat worms and insects. Then he asked one of his servants, who's responsible for this bad karma? Then that servant said, you owe the fields, my dear master, so you are responsible for that. Then he started to think, why should I be responsible for such a thing? I should give up on all of that, and now it's the time for me to renunciate. So I will give all my wealth to Buddha and go back. Leave this lay life and renunciate. To his surprise, Buddha was in the garden, feeding in the garden. There were sesame seeds on the ground. She saw some birds came to fetch worms in the garden. And she also had the same thought. Who's responsible for this? She asked one of the servants. Then the servant said, my dear lady, you owe it. You owe the land. So it's your responsibility. All of a sudden, she felt a heavy burden. If this happens ever again, I won't be able to get out of this samsara. I should leave everything aside and go and renunciate. So she was planning to tell it to Prince Pipali when he came home. Then they both, after having a bath, they sat in couch of the mansion and started talking. Then Prince Pipali said, Buddha, I have 870 million gold and 60 reservoirs and 14 villages. I want you to take all of that. And how much did you bring when you came here? Then Buddha replied, 55,000 carts. Okay, Buddha, have all of that and have a happy life. I'm going to renunciate. Buddha said, oh, I also want to renunciate. I don't want any of that. I want to renunciate too. So they decided. They dyed the clothes, the robes in yellow color, shaved off each other's heads, and took 2 alms bowls in their hands, left their mansion. On the road, ascetic Pipali was walking in the front, and ascetic Buddha was walking behind. Then all of a sudden, ascetic Pipali realized it's not nice, it doesn't suit a woman coming after me, and it gives a bad idea to others. They might think we cannot be separated. So that's why we are going together yet, even though we are planning to renunciate. Then they stopped. And ascetic Pipali asked ascetic Buddha, now we have come so far in this samsara together. We protected our virtues together. Now the time has come for us to separate. Let's take 2 different roads. Then ascetic Buddha agreed. She worshipped ascetic Pipali and they separated. They took 2 different roads. And then the earth shook, an earthquake occurred. A stick Pippali went to Lord Buddha and ordained and became Venerable Mahakashyapa. And Buddha went to a wanderer's nunnery till Prajapati and 500 noble ladies were ordained. As soon as she heard the news, she came and ordained in the Buddhist monastery. In no time, she attained arahantship, and the Lord Buddha bestowed the title of foremost among nuns who can recall the past lives to Venerable Mother Kapilani. So do you see, children, what do you think of the story? She started her journey by giving just a sadhu, 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 applauding, rejoicing somebody else's merit. That's how she started the journey. She made mistakes. When she was angry, she did furious things and faced consequences. And then she could fight the battle and finally entered the arahanthood. So my dear children, if you strive hard, if you practice the path, if you rejoice in merits, if you engage in many meritorious states, you also can do that. Every time her husband did a merit, she rejoiced in that, applauded, said sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That's how she gained all of this. So whenever you do merits, whenever your friends, siblings, parents do merits, let's rejoice in the merits that they do, as we have done it by ourselves. So we can do this. We can finish off this samsara. If you practice the path, strive hard, if you stay focused, you'll achieve it. May the Noble Triple Gem be with you all.